5 seconds. Friends, I stand before you today to speak on certain matters that are presently engaging the serious attention of the people all over the country. As you all know, a few people had started movements and created a situation of indiscipline, causing grave problems of law and order. And if this process had been allowed to continue, there would have been anarchy in this country. We had a movement in the states of Gujarat and Bihar. In Gujarat, the members of the Legislative Assembly were threatened and forced to resign. There was violence. Students were not attending the colleges, and the industrial workers went on strikes, and, in fact, at all levels. There was such indiscipline that the functioning of the government became very difficult. Their intention was to paralyze the state governments. Now, a plan of action had also been announced by those who are leading these movements. They said that the motive was to paralyze the central government. It is obvious that if it had happened on a nationwide scale, there would have been violence on a large scale. In a period of international unrest on the one hand and internal problems of law and order on the other, there was grave danger to the country. When it has been explained that the declaration of the present emergency was only intended to safeguard democracy, a question was asked as to how freedom of the press could be banned in a democracy. I wish to emphasize that the obligations of democracy are on both sides. While the government should allow free press, free speech, and free association, the opposition leaders should also observe the rules of the game. But this was not being done, and that is why the present situation has arisen. It was not a question of the entire country wanting something, but it was a question of a small minority trying to disrupt the normal life of the country. We all know that the work of construction needs a whole nation's effort, while the work of destruction could be done by a few people. Even within the parliament, there was a lot of obstruction when important discussions were taken up. But something much worse had happened in the states. The Gujarat Assembly was dissolved merely through the agitation of some people. At one point, they said they should have the right of recall. I don't think that such a provision exists even in the constitution of an advanced country like America, which is now showing so much concern for democracy in India. After all, who were the people who were asking for recall? Not those who had elected a member, but some students from the city who had no idea about his constituency and his work. Let us not go into details now. After all, elections were only a few months away, and if they had wanted, they would have had the verdict of the people. But one opposition leader said this war had to be fought out in the streets. Another said there had to be total revolution, and he tried to incite not only the industrial workers but also the army and the police. The net result of all this was a general atmosphere of irresponsibility. Everybody said that this was the same to get what they could for themselves, and nobody bothered about the country. Now, in a developing country, you simply cannot continue in that way, and the very announcement of emergency did bring about discipline. Slowly, people are going about their business in a much more effective way. Students who had obstructed examinations and who were threatening the teachers are now attending classes. There are no strikes and lockouts. There is no slackness in administration also, because the corrupt and the inefficient are being weeded out. Now that We want is that the people should realize that it is not the government's business alone, but it is their own business also to run the country. Just at present, it is very difficult to say when the emergency will be lifted. Naturally, this is not going to be a permanent situation. There are different types of people involved. On the one hand, there are the recognized political parties which are at present liberty to function in the normal way and make their contribution to the political life of this country. On the other hand, there are certain groups and organizations which are not admittedly political but which did not believe in democracy. They had plans of violence in the past. It was the combination of the recognized political parties and these organizations that posed a real danger which we had to face. Although we have got censorship of the press and some people are under detention, it is not true to say that all the opposition leaders are under detention. In fact, most of them are out, and most of those who are in jail are either noted smugglers or bad elements. Dear sirs, we thank you for your letter acknowledging receipt of our order, which we placed with you a fortnight back for the supply of room coolers. Though you promised in your letter to send the consignment within a week, we have not received the same so far. We have already passed through a severe hot season and soon the rains will set in and any further delay on your part will defeat the very purpose of our placing the order. We are unable to understand the reasons for the delay, nor have we received any letter explaining the circumstances under which the dispatch of goods has been delayed. After all, you must appreciate the fact that these are seasonal goods. In this connection, we may also mention that we have deposited sufficient amount with you and we have been placing orders to the value of the amount deposited. At the same time, we have been sending fresh deposits to cover future supplies. We wish to impress upon you that we shall lose our sales of these room coolers during this hot season. If you do not rush their supply to us very soon, and we shall consequently have to suffer a great deal of financial loss as well as prestige in our business. It is only fair that we now call upon you to expedite the supply of the room coolers that we have ordered by special mail train delivery to reach us by the end of this month. Please inform us by wire as to what you plan doing, or you may even put in a trunk call so that we may inform our customers the probable date of supply to them. Regarding the window air conditioners, which you have mentioned in your letter, please send us detailed information as to their design and working so that we may consider placing a firm order later. Our mechanic is presently there and we are sending a copy of this letter to him and instructing him to see you in this connection. If and when he calls on you, please explain to him by a practical demonstration if possible. Yours faithfully,